Hi guys, and welcome to part 2 of Tagore stories. I actually made notes because it's been a while since I watched the second part. I watched a little bit last night, and hopefully I will. Now why is that on there? Sid Roth at Supernatural just gave me a reminder. And you see I actually put on a real shirt and moved the camera a whole 2 minutes of setup so the lighting would be decent. You like my nice wall hanging there in my I don't know how old that is, my litho of a nymph in the forest. Anyway, so I found some paper, and this takes me back to the days when we had to write notes on 3x5 file cards in the old days. I don't know if people still do that. We had to make outlines for our reports, which I never did, and I kind of wrote them up, kind of backfilling. Okay, so they just seem to get worse and worse. I say, like, why did he write these stories? Is it to show just how miserably stupid humans can be? I guess so. So, part 2 of the Tagore stories. I forgot where the first one ended, where there was a balding middle-aged guy heading to somebody's house, and this is whose story we take up now. And I'm leaving names out because I forgot them. Yeah, you can see how much prep I do here. So anyway, in the first section of these stories, an immigrant fruit seller becomes friends with a young girl. He goes house to house with his bag of almonds and stuff. And there's this young girl, Minnie, who's like, the doted upon child of some parents who are writers, I think, or the father's a writer. And the fruit seller has his own family back in some other land, some other state, I forgot, in India. And he becomes friends with the girl, and they're best buddies. And then he's sent to prison. Something happens. Evidently, there's some sort of fight, and he's sent off for like 10 years. And he comes back after his sentence is served, and he wants to see her. Well, of course, by now she's grown up, and time for her to get married. So he does see her, and he realizes, wow, she's grown up. My daughter must be grown up too. And the girl, whose name is Minnie's father feels bad for the guy and gives the fruit seller a quantity of money so he can travel back and see his own family. So that's a short, nice story that was very sweet. And the fruit seller kind of reminded me of the actor Bill Bailey, if you know the comedian. Anyway, okay, so that was a happy one. And then we go into the story of Minnie, which is on page 2. The girl, Minnie, gets married, but her sister-in-law doesn't like her, like says she's not doing the housework, and she's, like being protected from stuff and just like being pampered. So during an argument between the sister-in-law and her husband, the sister-in-law's husband is the brother of Minnie's husband. So there's this argument, and she accuses him of like inappropriate conduct with Minnie. So he like hits her with a vase, and she falls off a balcony. Anyway, she dies. And Minnie's husband blames Minnie for it, because he says he can always get another wife, but he only has one brother. And this is something you see in so many Indian movies. I'm reminded of, I forgot the name of this one with A.J. Devgan and Salman Khan, where they both are in love with the same girl. Salman had her first, and then A.J.'s going to marry her. And the brothers are so closey close. I probably talked about it somewhere. Anyway, so Minnie keeps her mouth shut because she's married to this guy, and she's going to be loyal to the family. The trial comes, and both brothers feel like crap, and the real killer says, "No, I killed her," and then the husband goes, "No, I killed her," but Minnie won't say a word in her own defense. And this reminded me of something else yet again. It reminded me of that song, the folk song. 10 years ago, on a cold, dark night, someone was killed by the something light. The something who said, da 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 dee, said the killer who ran looked a lot like me. I spoke not a word, though it meant my life, 'cause I'd been in the arms of my best friend's wife. She walks these hills in a long visits my grave when the night winds wail. Nobody knows, nobody sees, nobody knows but me. What's that got to do with Joan Baez or Bob Dylan? Nothing. The point is that since Minnie doesn't say a word in her own defense, she dies. Stupid girl. Number 3 in the notes. Editor. The editor of... Now, this is another little notice here that there's no viruses found. Good. Anyway, editor of a fledgling newspaper writes about Minnie. Now, he's very busy because he's got this newspaper and they've got the old hand-cranking press and he's getting the subscriptions together and all. So he's real busy with his work. And his wife is bored because wives get bored in these big houses. So he invites his brother to come and work on the wife's music. Of course, the wife starts to get, starts to fall for the brother. And she becomes jealous because the brother is actually, his music career is actually starting to take off and he writes a song and it's on Radio India, and then she writes a song and he wants to put it on Radio India, and she's like, no, it's personal. So he goes off to be a success and the wife starts pining. Meanwhile, the wife's brother has absconded with all the funds for the newspaper. So none of the creditors were paid and the newspaper is sinking. So he has to sell all his stuff, and she doesn't know what the fuck's going on because they don't tell the women anything. And so the editor, again, what's the difference whose name it is? So the editor gets a job at another paper and he goes off. So now this woman's all alone and I really couldn't care less about her. What I did like is the way her saris got progressively less attractive. So by the time the husband editor leaves, she's wearing this really pale pink sari that's practically a widow's white, and it's got just this black detailing on it because I always do pay attention to the costuming. And also I love the colors of the walls. The colors of the walls of these houses are always fucking brilliant. Okay, so since the wife's brother ran away, he's broke, the editor has to get another job. And here's the story I really can't stand, the one I saw last night. And I'm going to call the protagonist, if indeed you can call him that, Chala, though maybe his name was Chana, but it was really a nickname, but you'll see. So, the editor's working, and his employee, who's I guess a guy in his 40s, whatever, comes to ask for a few days off. And now we fill in the story and see why he needs the 4 days off. It seems that many years ago, when Chala was 6 or 7, was sent to become the body servant, the dog's body, for this rich kid. And so, as happens in how many stories, the rich kid and the servant grow up together as brothers, and he does all the foot massaging and all those things that are done. And then finally, the rich kid is of marriageable age, and he gets married. And Chala is like, oh man, what do I do now? And he's getting jealous, and he's got empty nest syndrome because now the wife's doing the caring. Meanwhile, but we didn't know this, Chala actually has a wife back home in his village who's heavily pregnant and being cared for by her sister, a widow, because of course, what's a widow good for except to stay in the house and take care of people. So Chala takes the rich man's son, who he calls Little Master. He takes Little Master out to the river, and we know what's coming, don't we? Oh, yes, we do. Chala goes to climb some fruit. Little Master walks into the river. Good. But no fault of the child. The child doesn't know any better. So the mother of the child thinks that the kid's been kidnapped. She's like, here, take all my jewelry, give him back. And he's like, no, I don't know where he's gone, because they never do find the body. So Chala, the reason he's called Chala is that Little Master called him Chala. So Chala goes back to his village where his wife is dying in childbirth, and Chala doesn't give a rat's ass, and goes out and gets drunk. The child is a boy. The sister-in-law is caring for the boy. And then one day, while he's sitting half plastered, his son comes crawling up to him and goes Chala, and he thinks that his child is the reincarnation of the child who vanished, who drowned. Now, whether you believe in reincarnation or not, it's immaterial because where am I? Page 6, thinks the reincarnated little master and proceeds to idolize him, his own child, as the little master. And so he spends every cent on his education, buys him stuff, and when he's of school age, takes him off to the boarding school and says, I'm not the child's father. His parents died, and I'm taking care of him, and don't worry about the expenses. So for the next X years, the child is off in boarding school, and Shala and sister-in-law, I guess, are living on dirt because they don't have any money, and they sell all their land and all this biz. Come to the child is about 18 now. Wow, my lips are dry. Is of age, and you can tell he's a spoiled brat, like he wants a new watch because last year's is out of fashion. And meanwhile, the sister-in-law has developed, old movie disease, which is the terribly ineffective, unbelievable, really bad acting that happens in every Indian movie when someone gets sick. All of a sudden, she's going, cough, cough, cough. Okay, so sister-in-law is getting sick. She said, we have no money for this stuff. I'm going to tell. I'm going to spill the beans that you are not his father and you're not responsible for him. So this is at the point when Chala goes into the editor and asks for the days off. This is what his plan is. He takes his son out of school and brings him to his master's house and says, yes, I actually did kidnap your son. And here he is, and I've cared for him all these years, and now you can have him back. So, notwithstanding the fact that the kid probably doesn't even resemble the child who left, and that the child really should be a little different in age, because the child who drowned was probably at least 2. So, despite all that, the parents accept it, and they're like, oh, our son's back, hooray, and they're not going to prosecute him. Yeah, right. They're not going to prosecute him. And so Chala's like sitting outside the house watching the mom feed the son, because this is a thing that they do in India again. Evidently, the spoons don't exist, and boys can't be bothered to feed themselves. So she's like, putting the doll in his mouth and all this. And Chala's like, can I ever come back and see him? I promise I'll just look at him from a distance. And they're like, no. And then the son's like, oh, hey, it's true. He really did raise me very well, so why don't you give him a couple of bucks? So you can see how like a serpent's tooth. So the ungrateful child. And so Chala goes back to the river where the child drowned and walks in and kills himself. Now let me tell you how this is fucked in so many ways. First of all, this poor sister-in-law who supported Chala's wife in childbirth, who raised the child, who is now suffering from dying cough movie disease, has no one to take care of her. The parents, although they have a child, are totally deluded. He's not their child. Is this a good thing or a bad thing? And the child now, the new little master, has no idea. I guess he's that stupid. He doesn't remember that, his father was his father and he doesn't have other parents somewhere. It staggers belief, and I beg her to differ. So that's that. Wow, it's been almost 14 minutes. I really like this top, but it's really too big. So I'll let you know if I can do any more Tagore stories. I probably will finish this series before I go back into the hospital. In the meantime, I don't get it. I mean, these are like Guy de Maupassant stories. You know the one with the necklace where the woman pays off a necklace for like 48 years and then realizes it wasn't even real diamonds, or like that other woman I can't stand, the Southern writer. Just the people in here you just don't like 80% of them. Anyway, I really like this background. I'm going to keep using this. Have a good afternoon.